Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and disembodied hands Wendy, disembodied beard John, disembodied head Justin, and hey, come here, Kiki! No noms, no noms, no noms, you dork. Come on. Shh, no bites. Thank you. Kisses, Kiki. Monster. Oh, this monster. Look at this monster dog I have. Oh, monster. Nope. the look on her face is like... She had that pun husky face. I swear it. Right in that moment, I had to laugh. This is the pun husky face. I want to bite you. Is it okay? Good girl, Kiki. Uh-oh, the revisited. Good girl. Yeah, you are a good girl. Good girl. Here's some chest scritches for you. Good girl. Yes, Monster Kiki. Yes, welcome back, Kerniko. We missed you. Also, my finches are weird, Kerniko. My finches are weird. I couldn't get to Bird Lady store to restock my sunflower chip and thistle seed mix, so I had to order some on the Zon, and I loaded it up, and the birds are picking all the thistle seed out and leaving the sunflower seed. Seriously, finches? Because there's less thistle seed in this one, and apparently they just don't like the sunflower seed as much as the thistle seed. I don't know, I have weird finches. I've decided I've just got weird finches. So, anyway, they just aren't as excited about it. Like, I put a new load in, and they get excited, and then I look out, and there's a lighter color through the whole feeder, like they've picked out all the black seeds. It's so weird. Oh, yeah, at the no noises, yeah. Sorry, small Scottish cat. It wasn't you. Oh, man. Oh, what a day. Oh, Quinn, you take your allergy pill, because I have to blow my nose. It's very, very congesty here today. Very congesty. Lordy. Lordy sakes alive, people. Ugh. Maybe they're looking at the prices. I have no idea. Yeah, maybe they just don't like this mix as well. And that is possible. So I'm gonna go back and get more from my bird lady, but that's like a 20-minute drive to her shop, so it's like I wasn't gonna be able to go till Saturday. So yeah, it's weird. But yes, happy Wednesday, everybody. We are gonna be working on Snow Girl. I took the eagle head off because I realized that if it was protruding too far, then what I really need to do is actually chop off this part of the rock. Like, take this chunk right out of there. I've greened over the top of it, but with a knife it shouldn't be hard. Because essentially it was just like, it was too far out and I wasn't liking it. And this is just proof that you can go back to a base and change it at any time. It's not like you're never locked in. I mean, at worst case scenario, you take the model off and put it on a different base. I mean, David has done that. I know he has. So yes, and we've got also along with that, so we're going to be ripping that chunk out. I'm going to be working on finished work on the base. I'm just going to leave that chunk kind of be, just painted and try not to put any vegetation or anything in there. And I'll get back onto that because I still have my little chunk of eagle head. I'm just going to have to make it work with whatever new texture is after I rip this chunk of rock out of here. Yeah, oh, well, they're going to have to, I don't know if David is going to actually see my notes or know how to change the feed, because I'm going to be gone for 12 days with ReaperCon. It's 4 days out, 4 days ReaperCon, 4 days back, so I'm going to fill it up, but they get totally, those birds have the least brains, goldfinches, these lesser goldfinches, have the least brains of any bird. I thought bird brain, could apply to many birds, but that's not true. Oh, I was sculpting an eagle head out here, Pendrake, but it was too far out, so. Like a stone eagle. Yeah, maybe. There is a lot of thistles out here. You're right. Thormel. So yeah, so Cornico's like totally abandoned the thistle seed for sunflower seed over where she is, but maybe in Scotland the birds are more spoiled. I have no idea. But yeah, mine are definitely preferring the thistle. Maybe I should just get pure thistle. I mean, that'll keep the other birds off of it because they prefer the sunflower seeds. All right, so I'm just going to cut through this and rip out this chunk. I have so much to share with you guys today, but I am going to actually get going on the work part. So I'm just going to take that right off. And I want kind of a stepped down rocky feel, so I'm not going to take too much off here. But I want to essentially be able to build out that eagle head here and not have it protrude so far off the side of it. I want it to be integrated with this part of the base. And that probably means taking off some of this to make a good hollow for the head to come out on. Then I'm going to grab my little head. I took the beak off and kind of like test it. If I put it up here, this is just the eye and the forehead. If I put it up here and build it out there, I'm much happier with it. So from the side, it's more like this, and the beak won't protrude as much, and the head is more centered. I may put something like a brazier on top of the head, but I haven't decided that yet. But I think that this is going to be a lot better to build out. So I need to bake this today. I'm not going to repress it into that texture. I have some boulders here that I need to get rid of. There's my cork bag. Oh, on my regular bird feeder, Thormel, I use a mixture. Although I have gone to majority sunflower seed in there, but my general deluxe bird mix has a bunch of different stuff in it. So I have 3 different feeders. I have my squirrel buster that's loaded with a mixture of everything, but heavy on the sunflower seed because definitely the house finches and the other birds prefer it. So stuff this back here. But then I have an actual thistle feeder that is very, very small aperture, and that's for sunflower chip and thistle seed only. I was just using a mixture of the two, but now I'm thinking maybe I'll go get a bag of thistle and mix it in so that it's a heavier proportion. Because the one that I got from the bird lady was definitely a heavier thistle seed proportion than this bag I got from the Zon. So, yeah. Oh, Caerindra, you have really good taste. You like my book. Speaking of, haha, transition. Guess what I got yesterday, folks? Guess what came in the mail? The proof copy. They do look a little stringy. Yeah, it's here. It's here. Just to give you guys an idea of how chonky this book is, by the way. There's East of the Sun next to it. Look at the chonk level of West of the Moon. Like, seriously. Seriously chonk. So this is the proof copy, which is why it's got that not for resale gray banner on it there. These are both of the original proof copies. So now I have 2. This was super gratifying. Super, super gratifying. So yeah, I haven't even really cracked it open. David actually cracked it open and went, oh, it looks really nice. But your chapters are messed up. And the reason is I haven't named the chapters yet. So they're just like chapter 17, chapter 17. And that's on purpose because as I read through, I need to come up with chapter names for them. And so having that at the beginning of every chapter is going to remind me every chapter to make up a new chapter thing. It almost is. It's seriously 140,000 words, Caerindra. It's like nobody's going to complain. Nobody be complaining about not getting enough story with book 2. Yeah, so, yeah, because David's like, but what about your chapters? And I'm like, don't worry, they'll get names. I just didn't have, I wanted to move forward with the book, and I wanted to send it to my editors, and so I was like, I'm just going to wait on the chapters. But yeah, because it was the last thing I did last time as well. But it takes a while because I'm reading through that. But I'm reading through the whole book anyway because I need to catch. I need to do my read through to catch stuff. So I start that today. That's exciting. That's exciting. I should be done. I don't know. I'll see how fast I get through it. It's a big book. It's just a big book. But yeah, so together, the total length of the story is 250,000 words. That's a serious book. That's a serious book. Alrighty, let's get this going on now that I've shared that with you all. But yeah, that's my task for. I need to take a break and finish my PDF for $5 tier for Patreon. Although I still have to. I haven't posted the $2 one yet, so technically I could probably take the rest of this week. Even though it means I'll be a little bit late with posting my $2 or my $5 tier. What is the days this week? What are the days? I try to post. Yeah, I guess I could. If I posted my color workshop on Monday, I could take all these 5 days to finish my proof edit, which would be nice. It would be nice. And then I would have. That would be great. Then everything gets uploaded. I make any last minute tweaks that people get to me. And yeah, we release on the 24th. Yep. We're on track, peeps. On track. It's a 5-book trilogy. That's a pentalogy, by the way. You just use the appropriate, like a 6-book series is a sextology. A septology for the 7-book series. I don't remember all of them, but a pentalogy is 5. But yeah, 200. I mean, technically, if I wrote really short books, like if I was writing romance novels, yeah, 250,000 words would be 5 books. But most fantasy, honestly, is going to be 80 to 100,000, and so it would be a trilogy probably of a normal, like urban fantasy series. But epic fantasy always runs longer. So, and technically, although the world-threatening kind of stuff isn't like a big theme in this. That's what keeps these novels from really being epic fantasy, which is why I'm not sure they'll find an audience in the epic fantasy genre, but I'm advertising there anyway to see. But yeah, usually the thing that really defines epic fantasy is a classic good versus evil. And I have a lot of gray areas in my book. Like even my villains have like good sides, even my heroes do bad things. So it's like, or I should say my protagonists do bad things. So every once in a while, because they're driven to, but who says your villain isn't driven to doing bad things either, right? So bad things. It's all relative. But yes, but it is epic because if I finish the story arc, if I finish the ultimate story arc, then it does have actually a classic, it definitely has a world threat in it. But I don't know if I get that far. It depends on if I get a lot of readers. If I get a lot of readers, I'll write 15 books in this world. If I don't get a lot of readers, if there's not a lot of people who really enjoy it, I won't write as many. Like, it's that simple. Or maybe I'll write one every once in a while to make my fans happy. To eventually get to the ultimate storyline that I originally had in my head. But each book is going to be, and that's where my books would differ from Redwall. Whereas Redwall went very much the serial route, where every story really is its own totally self-contained story, even if it does touch on Redwall Abbey at some point, and not all of them do. My books do have like a kind of background world arc, but it's not the main point, and you don't have to appreciate that to enjoy the stories. Yeah, the best villains think that they're the hero. Exactly. Everybody's got reasons for what they do. Even villains that have totally gone down the bad route, essentially, even if they know it, they've just like either embraced that and they just believe that the world drove me to this and now screw the world, right? And all of us have felt that at some point or another in our lives. It's just like, screw you, world, just screw you, right? And the difference is the villain has just had that experience to such a high degree that they really are just, they're there. And there are always redemption arcs for like evil characters. They can turn a new leaf and decide to like, to have that redemption. Like that's also a possibility. So, and I always keep that in the cards. Like a lot of times, honestly, I'm not sure how my villains or heroes are going to end up. They develop as they go. So I have a general idea. But good and evil, I mean, that's why alignment has gotten less popular in D&D in the last couple decades. It's just that people know that it's a flawed system. And some people, it's convenient, and you can lay down general guidelines of what is good and what is evil. But at the same time, truly, people are more complex than that. And I tend to write pretty complex characters. So, all things considered, is there a big baddie that's generally like... Any big baddie that I write is not human. How about that? Like, for me to write a truly evil thing or entity or person, it has to be non-human. It has to be somewhat alien or a force, an energy that's bent on that sort of thing. That, in that way, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Oh, do you, Caerindra? Oh, well, I'll keep that in mind. I think there's one brewing, but it depends. It depends. I get probably the most, like, if I had to pick a character that I've gotten the most conflicting feedback on, as far as people hate her, people love her, it's my villain. It's Athena. It's the troll. So I'm curious to see how that develops as things go. On. Anyway, let us, since I'm not going to do that green, let's actually look at this and see if there's any place. I think I'm going to paint it, because I can always do green work over the paint. Never think that you can't. Oh, I need to rough up that edge there. That's a little too regular. See how this is very straight? Let's rough that up. I'm just doing a... I have, my t-shirt is Chaotic Good. I did order an alignment t-shirt. It is Chaotic Good, which is my actual alignment per the personality tests. It's, I love its slogan because it's good intentions, questionable methods. Yeah, I mean, you never know until you write it. Some characters are just going to get people and some aren't. And essentially some people think that Athena is very interesting, and some people honestly felt like the trolls were my most interesting characters. And which is why I started thinking about a troll trilogy down the line, because I haven't even started. Like, I haven't even gotten into the trolls yet. Not really. When you guys read this book too, you get to learn so much more about the trolls. But I'm going to take stone gray, I think. We're going to go with a very earthy brownish gray. Since we went with a gray blue here, we want to go away from that. So we want to go more toward the dirt color. So, hey, Miniatures Den. Hey. So, okay, now I have to stop talking about writing, right? I have to start talking about painting. Your friends think you're not Chaotic Good, huh? Oh, man. Yes, we're being alpacanated. So, yeah, I was just talking about how I would go with probably a brown or gray to start with my stonework here for this character. Just to, because I have bluish grays here, so I wouldn't want to necessarily go with a gray with a lot of blue in it down here. Unless I was going for a very harmonizing, like just very harmonious feel to the model. I can also start with a neutral gray and add in bits of color that I've already used, which is a very French thing to do, per Jeremy Bonnemont. But taking some of my russet brown, black and brown, and some of my blue grays, my carbon scoring blue, and mixing those essentially to get an organic gray for the base. You could totally do that. Oh. Why are we getting, like, because you guys are seeing me. I'm not doing anything. And there's nothing going on. There was no outside noise to like, get that feedback. I just don't get it. I do not get it. It could be that my mic is, like, dying, and so I did mention this. Okay. Oh, let me go put on my to-do list to source a new mic. Like I need to spend that money. Price new mic. Yeah, because that's not good. Because we only just started having this problem. And the fact that also my my OBS has forgotten my mic recently, like, or just had trouble, like, getting it. Poor SSC. I feel so sad for my favorite Scottish cat. Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm going to put this up here and put that there. All right. Sorry, guys. Yeah. And hopefully it is that and not something else if I blow the money on a new mic, which are not cheap. All right, we're going to use some browns then for this stone. I'm going to use stone gray. I'm going to get my Cairn stone color, which I really like, as you guys all know, for a stony highlight. It's a great granite color, that yellowish gray granite. He's not too bright. So I'll start with a lot of my stone gray. I'll go over to my Cairn stone. But yeah, if you ever want to mix a color that's like that granite-y color, it's pretty much just a mix of, you mix a very light gray, add in some yellow oxide and just a touch of brown oxide because you want it, and not every brown oxide will work. You want kind of a reddish brown. I learned this when I did my PDF on brown oxides and brown pigments for the Patreon recently. Reaper's brown oxide is different from any of the other brown oxides that I have found. I looked at this. The Scale Color doesn't have a pure one. They don't have a pure pigment one, but Chimera, every one of those brown oxides is very different from the one that Reaper uses. The one that Reaper uses is definitely got a reddish tone to it. And because of that, it acts differently with mixes. You can use it to neutralize the greenish tone that you get when you mix a little bit of yellow oxide into a color that has black in it. You can't do it with every brown oxide. There's just too many different brown oxides out there, and not all of them are red. So, great taste below wisdom. Yeah, I don't know if you're on my Patreon, but yeah, I did a lot on the brown oxides because they're very different. Like, this is why the universal pigment numbering system, I've always said, is not very useful. Like, a lot of people, when paint companies started putting down the pigments that are in their paints, like, a lot of people were thrilled. They're like, oh, this is gonna, like, be super awesome. And it's like, well, for some colors it is super awesome. Like, it'll tell you if a particular paint uses a completely different brown or red or blue, or if it's a really unique color, right? You'll be able to see that, oh, like, for example, my favorite, Royal Brown, you know, is a completely different, it's not an oxide brown, it's a completely different brown, different sort of brown. And it's cool to know that, right? But when it comes down to, like, using it to understand the qualities, like opacity and such of the paint, it actually isn't useful at all. There's differences in reds. Like, the same pigment of red can be orangish or more violet. It can have better coverage or worse. And the brown oxides are just, like, all over there. Like, because essentially at their heart, they're iron oxides, right? And the red, yellow, and brown are kind of the same composition. So what you get is, over the brown oxides, you can get totally see-through ones. You can get really opaque ones. The Reaper one is a really opaque brown oxide. It covers really well. You know, you can get somewhere in the middle, you can get a reddish, you can get a more of a grayish brown, you can get more of a yellowy brown. Like, it's it means nothing. When you see that PBR7, it means absolutely zilch, except that you're working with an iron oxide, but that tells you nothing. So it varies as to how much mileage you can get from that universal pigment numbering system. It really, really does. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, the only way you can learn, you know, the best way still, I should say, to learn about what your paints can do is not to try to rely on some sort of pigment or numbering system. It is just to work with them, because every brown oxide you have is going to act differently and be a different color. So you got to work with it to learn what it does. It's sad. We all want a magic bullet that's just going to give us that guideline that we can just say, oh, it's this pigment, so blah. But it really doesn't work that way. It really doesn't, sadly. Oh yeah, monsters are very brown. It's true. Speaking of brown, I need my brown liner. Where are you, brown liner? I keep losing it. There it is. Put this paint back. Let's see. Oh, hey. So, I have things to share, like motivational mindset things. Oh, I know. Yes, I do this. And we've been doing this a lot lately, and I'm going to do more of it. So, what's interesting, I was sharing some things with you guys about, I'm taking this thing called the Strengths Intensive. There is a personality / strengths and weaknesses test called Clifton Strengths, and there is a coach, a writing coach that I follow who uses those. She's a certified strengths coach. And I've been taking what's called a strengths intensive, which means I'm focusing on one strength, and there are 34, and trying to essentially just learn how to work with it better actively, to understand it and use it better in my creative endeavors, right? So I got hit, guys, in the face with the most profound smack yesterday when I was watching these videos and reading my content. It was like one of those earth-changing moments where you're just like, oh. And it's funny because it's something that I've said in miniatures for a while, but I never translated it to writing, and it's just the way that it's put. So I saved it. I saved my sticky notes for you to share it with you, because I know there are a lot of people out there who are perfectionist. Perfectionism in mini painting, seriously, go together like layering and glazing, like peanut butter and jelly, like peanut butter and chocolate. Hey, why does peanut butter get two best partners? Isn't that unfair, kind of? But anyway. I see. Okay, so there's so much to unpack here, but let me find just the phrase, because just the phrase is the best phrase. Oh, there's so much good here. Okay, here we go, guys. This is the phrase that totally... Are you ready? Because peanut butter is the best. This is the phrase that totally hit my brain and thwacked it sideways yesterday. You cannot actually learn from trying to be perfect. And right away, I knew it was a good one, because right away after being smacked, my brain was like, but, and then I was like, and I think about, for me, it's the writing analysis right away, right? The writing, but it's the same with painting. So I think about how I've spent all these years trying to get my first book as close to perfect as I could. And my brain right away wanted to whine and say, oh, but I did learn trying to be perfect. But then I had to stop and say, yeah, but if I had just written more books, would I not have learned so much more faster than if I had stuck on that book? And the answer absolutely is yes. Absolutely is yes. So when your whiny brain, yes, when your whiny brain wants you to just make it perfect before you put the picture up on the forum, or before you pronounce it done, or still says, oh, but this is not very good, we should probably fix this part, right? Understand that you will get 50 million more pounds of mileage, whatever the hell that means, out of just putting aside the model and moving on. And guess what? If your brain is really anxious about it, say, okay, brain, okay, we're going to put this mini over here. We're not done with it yet, brain. We're not done. We're going to go and paint 5 more minis. Then we're going to go back to that mini and we'll fix it, and we're going to have a better perspective on it, right? And chances are, once your brain is away from that mini, it'll just calm down, and it'll say, oh, okay, it can be done, it can be done. It'll have new minis to obsess about, right? But yeah, it's absolutely like this. The reason that I had such a strong reaction against this is that it's absolutely true. Is you will. It isn't necessarily that you cannot learn from trying to be perfect, but that you will learn this much, and you will waste a ton of time. Whereas if you move forward and work on the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, you get this much progress with the same amount of time. And this is, remember the Ira Glass quote that I read to you, the gap? Remember, he talks about moving through the gap is iterating and continuing to work. It's producing a body of work. It's the only way to get better. And so when your brain wants to trap you in that perfectionistic thing, tell it no. Tell it you've got to move through it. The thing with our brains is that we're always trying to find like the least painful way. Like we run into a barrier and our brain is like, ooh, this hurts. This is bad. I don't like this barrier. There must be a better way around it. Like, if I just stop and work on this, it must be better, right? When in reality, there is no way forward that doesn't have a pain point. There is no way forward that involves you totally getting not stuck, except for the very rare mini that paints itself. Like, we all have one of those in our lives, maybe a few if we're really lucky. But there's gonna be resistance. You just have to push through it. And once you push through it on the other side, you may have learned something. You may have learned that you never want to paint that kind of mini again. That's valid. But you'll have learned something, and you can move on with your brain free to look at the next project, right? I was an inveterate perfectionist for most of my life. I wanted to sit there and work on something and iterate and iterate. It's part of my brain that wants to do that. But it doesn't help me in the long run. And then that leads into the next awesome thing that I learned. Here, wait. So the next thing that, yes. So in order to be happy with this, once we realize that we really cannot effectively learn from trying to be perfect, the next thing is to learn to see taking no action as the opposite of your best way forward. Caerindra, everybody has that. Everybody sees. Everybody sees all the flaws in their own work. Same with writing. Like when I put a book up, like when I sent my book out to my beta readers the other day, I'm just like, oh. But you know what? That's just your brain's reflex. It's a fear reflex. It's a fear reflex that you've forgotten a one thing, that there's this huge error in it, and now it's going to be horrible, right? Oh no, they're going to hate it, right? This is totally overreaction. It's your brain like being a drama llama. Do not let your brain be the drama llama, guys. Understand when your brain is being a drama llama and just kind of set it off to the side and give it a cookie. But yeah, so learn to see taking no action as like the opposite of the best way forward. If you have this kind of brain, if you've got my kind of brain that like is always looking for the best way, you know, the best technique, the best paint line, the best, you know, this new thing is gonna be the magic thing that makes me a better painter. If you've got that kind of brain, and a lot of us do, oh, so many of us do, kind of get yourself trained to see that taking no action, being stuck, or hesitating and like, or just reworking one section and not really that's really not taking action. You're just reworking that one little section to make it perfect. Taking no action is the opposite of the best way forward. So if your brain wants the best, keep telling it, if we sit here stuck on this little part, that's the opposite of the best. It's the worst way forward because it's not going forward at all. So that's a brain shift, and it may take time. Like you have to tell yourself, sometimes you have to say it out loud. Sometimes, okay, I talk to myself a lot. I'll preface this by saying I talk to myself a lot. But sometimes you have to look at your brain and say, brain, listen, and give it a good talking to out loud as if it's a person, because it helps to like cement it. Like your brain starts to perk up and listen when you're actually talking to it, as opposed to just thinking at it, because your brain's like, thoughts, I can deflect thoughts all day. But yeah, so it's why affirmations work. Like it's so dumb. But like, and I resisted this for so long because I always thought affirmations were hokey. But if you say them out loud, for some reason, that conviction slowly gets rooted in your little brain, and your little brain will be less resistant to it. It's kind of dumb. Yeah, you never be perfect. You just like iterate. It's like one of my CrossFit founders, like the guy who founded our gym, the big guy who does a lot of the morning classes, so I never see him. But one of his quotes is it never gets easier, you just get better at it. And I think even though that's a CrossFit and like athletics quote, it totally is even true with painting. It never gets easier to sit down and begin a model. It never gets easier when you hit a stuck point. It never gets easier when you are having trouble, with a technique. But you get better at it, right? You get less of those stuck points. You get fewer of those techniques that you struggle with. There's always a new something to struggle with. There's always as long as you're, or until you get to a point, like if you get to a point where you can phone it in, like where you can pretty much just paint at a decently, like me for some, like if I'm doing something like this, there's very few spots on these models that I struggle with, right? Because I'm not pushing myself on these models. I'm just trying to paint it to show you guys, so I make it look easy. I still struggle from time to time on these minis, but it's relatively rare. But that's where you're stagnating. And if you're happy with that level, then don't worry about that. But if you are the type who likes to improve and see how far you can get, that's when you worry a little bit. If you stop running into those stuck points, you know that you're not actually pushing yourself at all. You're just iterating on the things you already know. And so whatever it's whatever your goal is at that point, right? So then goals vary. But when you're getting stuck, when you're running into barriers, when you're learn to see no action as the worst thing you can do. Taking no concerted action, repainting the same area, repainting the same figure. I knew somebody who did that, and I finally told him to just stop painting the dang mermaid. You can only earn, and this kind of goes back to also me saying you can only learn so much from one model. Every model has something to teach you. Once it's taught you that thing or things, there's nothing else it can teach you. So if you just go right into painting another iteration of the same model, it'll do nothing for you. If you strip that model and try to paint that model again, it won't really do anything for you. You need time and you need iteration. So you need to stop and you need to paint other models and learn from those models what they have to teach you. Then 6 months, a year later, you go back to this model and you try to paint a new version of it, you're going to get a very different result, right? Yeah, I for the most part, I am working with techniques that I know by heart. I am not pushing myself on these minis. Every once in a while, I do push myself on one of these minis, but I always have. For me, pushing myself involves going into competition level work, right? So I've only got one of those going at any given time usually, but it's a different goal. Bye, Crowley. But yeah, so those were the two big, huge takeaways for me, is learning to see taking no action as the worst thing I can do, and I cannot actually learn from trying to be perfect. That one just hit me right between the eyes as a recovering perfectionist, recovering mostly, I hope. But yeah. So paint more minis. Don't spend your time agonizing over one, because you will learn so much more and you'll get so much better so much faster. It's just the way it is. Yeah, there are things that you need to learn by failure or iteration instead of just going over the same old reassuring thing. Let me see if there's any other really cool gems that I got. Yeah, and it also is benefit. There's a benefit to kind of looking at what stalls you out and trying to figure out like why, because all of us have those things that kind of stall us out on a project. So let's see if there's anything else here. I love to share this stuff with you guys because it's so creativity in one it's the same thing, right? Yeah, some of this is very specific to my particular strength that I'm exploring, so yeah. All right, but those are the two big takeaways, and they totally apply to mini painting, which is why I made a note to bring these notes in here with me and talk to you guys about this today, because both of those things are things that we've spoken about with different words in the past, but these words were really good words to describe that. So yes, like that. You got to let yourself make mistakes. You got to let yourself put out work that's not perfect. Like, this was very freeing for me. Like, it hit me between the eyes, and once I got done grousing about it, I was like, in reality, this is the best possible time for me to think about this sort of thing, because I'm about to start a new project. Finally, after finally finishing ones that I've been mired up in for a decade. And I'm excited now because I'll be able to learn more things through writing these new books. I'll get to be out of it, come out of it a better writer, which is, I am a self-improvement type of Anne, so that is a huge reward for me, knowing that going into this next book, I'll get better. So talking about polarizing questions and polarizing things, I have a polarizing question for you guys. How much romance do you like in your books? And by romance, I mean, like, do you have to have a not do you have to, but do you prefer books that have a relationship as part of the plot? As much as it takes to keep the story going. All right, so you like it as a catalyst for the plot, like an additional. What that says to me, Polly, is if the romance is helping to serve the plot, then you like it. But that the main point shouldn't be the romance. Because I'm questioning. The reason I ask is because I love to bounce stuff off you guys, and I'm just kind of going over in my head my cozy fantasy. And I really brought myself up against a question the other day, and it was, how much romance do I want to put in this? No, but you've read novels that where relationships were part of the plot, Pendrake, right? I mean, almost all of us have. So not a romance novel. Many of us, not most of us, but I mean, I honestly had never read a romance novel until they forced us to read one in high school. Since then, I do every once in a while read a romance novel if it's like well reviewed and the writing is good. The writing has to be good for me though. So I'm going to start out by just putting on my stone gray. And what this will do is putting this flat coat of gray on is going to tell me how integrated my green work looks with my cork base. If there is a point where it looks artificial or like it doesn't belong anywhere, putting this flat gray coat on is going to tell me. You won't boycott a book that doesn't have any. Well, this is going to be a fantasy novel, so let's actually talk about genre then. In fantasy novels, because I'm really questioning, like, I know there will be a bit of romance in my cozy fantasy, but I realized the other day that I had not really thought about how much, like, how important will that be to the plot? Because my main character has kind of lived a sheltered life, and now she's going to be thrown out into the broad world. And although she's penniless, and she owns nothing but a broken down castle in a ruined city, she's still, she's got potential. And she will encounter possible romantic partners. So I need to figure out, like, how important is that to my plot? Because when I plot, I tend to plot without that, unless I am looking at a romance, like, or much more like a paranormal romance. Doesn't have to be there, yeah. Just no more form. Yeah, see, that's how I tend to feel about it with Thormalice. Just another form of character development, because that's how we develop as people, is through our relationships, and through our, and not just our relationships with people, but with our pets, with our jobs, and with life in general, right? But we develop a lot through our relationships with others, and not necessarily romantic relationships, but friendships and our family relationships, everything. So, as much as it takes to keep the plot going. Don't like gratuitous phyllis. Yeah. Yeah, I don't ever want the romance to distract from the story. Bo would have to look like dude. One of them does. I love the choice one. I will admit that if I'm going to have like romance in a story, I like there to be at least two guys. Like there needs to be options. There needs to be options because that creates conflict. Like this guy or that guy. One of them might look like dude, but although I don't know. And much as it's totally a trope, I do like a very good enemies to lovers. I think that the problem for me is that it's too easy for most writers using that trope. They make it too easy. Like, and it doesn't feel as right. Now, most romance readers would totally like argue with me on that because they obviously don't feel that way. But for me, I like a really, really good, like, start out really not liking each other and slowly getting there. So, all right. Well, all right. I was kind of thinking that it would definitely be a part of the plot, but not the main plot. And so because it's a good source of tension. It's a good source of things to resolve and additional questions, right? So I'll make it secondary. It's kind of where I go anyway. Sometimes I curse that because romance is the best-selling genre in the world. And part of me, some little opportunistic part of me is like, if you could write romance. But the fact is, when it comes down to it, is that I do every once in a while enjoy a romance novel, but I don't like. I actually ran across a writer who said it best, or an example of a writer who said it best. She's like, I did not have posters of Fabio on my walls when I was a kid. I had posters of Han Solo, right? So that, yeah. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and Jane took her time. Like, do you really think Darcy is kind of a jerk when you meet him? And you should, right? It's like, but, yeah, most of the time my problem with it is that it just goes too fast. They flip it too fast. And I'm like, in real life, would it really flip that fast? Maybe rarely. But I just like it when it really is profound from one end to the other and you see the reason for it. Oh, absolutely. Slayer, I hate to say it, or I don't hate to say it. I guess I'm spoilering it, but there is a male romance in the third book, and the story that started this all, the one I submitted to Viable Paradise when I got accepted, was a female. I'm pretty comfortable writing in those worlds because in college I had a ton of gay friends. And in high school even, I worked in the theater department of our theme park for a couple of seasons and met a lot of different orientations, shall we say. They seemed to be drawn to that particular department. But it was my first experience with, just having friends that weren't like, having friends who liked other guys or other girls, And as a teenager, that was just like, I grew up in the cloistered Midwest. So, you know, when I grew up, the attitude when I grew up, to give you guys an example, I grew up in small town Wisconsin. And one of the things that happened when I was in high school was that the local gay bar was burned to the ground via arson. So that's the environment that I grew up. And I was just shocked and horrified when that happened. Right. Yeah, it's true, Richard. Yeah, and I mean, but that's the story. It's like I'm never going to change the character when the character is this way, right? It's like I'm never going to change it just to please an audience. Like people can decide how they feel about my writing, but I'm also not. I'm not an LGBTQ plus like writer. Like that's not because I'm still gonna have plenty of hetero relationships because it's the world. I write about the world. Everything is in the world. So my characters tell me what, if it matters, they tell me what they are. There's a lot of male, male, and female, female now. Like in the last, traditional publishing essentially got knocked upside the head, and you know they were kind of outed as to how like closed-minded they were being about some of that stuff. So now it's all about diversity. So that's great because it's getting a lot of like books published that would never have been published traditionally in the old days. A lot of new LGBTQ plus stuff. A lot. Like it seems like, in fact, it seems like a lot of the stuff my book club reads with my local sci-fi fantasy writers group is gay romance, or at least it's adventure. It's fantasy or sci-fi, but the main character will be gay or bi. It's okay. But yeah, I think relationships are relationships. So yeah, it's a reflection of your life. Yeah. All right, so I need a little bit more gray. So as I'm looking at this, the top of my rock is pretty smooth and I can definitely see an edge here. So I might take some putty or something and smooth that, like just glob that in. Or actually probably the best thing to do would be to take little bits of cork and glue them down on this smooth surface. Because when you're sculpting green, green tends to go rounded. It's not very good at keeping edges. And so when you have very gritty, sharp angled stones like the cork gives you, it's great, but it's gonna look different up here. Over here it's fine. Over here it's fine, I think. But I want maybe a little bit more just cork sprinkle up here on the base to camouflage it more, right? So that's what putting this flat coat can be very, very useful for. Yeah, I love Pride and Prejudice. I love Austen in general. I think she was very good at what she did. But yeah. 1 second while I get a little bit more stone gray out and thin it down. So yeah, it's interesting. It's just some people really don't like romance in their fiction, and some people are fine with it as long as it's kept minor, and some people are fine with it as long as, even if it's major, as long as it works with the plot instead of derailing it. I don't want to say never because you don't. I have no idea what I'll be writing in 10 years, but I don't think you'll ever see a real romance novel from me. The only possibility in that is you might if it's paranormal romance. I kind of have been looking at it. I mentioned my Fae book that I wrote just for fun. One of the past NaNoWriMos. It was a Fae urban fantasy. And technically, I don't know that it's urban fantasy. Like urban fantasy and paranormal romance, there's this like They're very close to each other. They're really close. And I'm kind of almost feel like, because the question that defines whether you've got one or the other is the romance the main point of the plot? And I didn't think it was, but then when I look at the book and the emphasis on it, I'm like, I may have written a paranormal romance. Maybe. Although some things say no, but it's just interesting. Yeah, it's got to make sense. Yeah, you're never going to get a book from me where it doesn't make sense. Because I'm so all about like the overall feel of the book, and if something isn't fitting, it jars. But yeah, okay, so at some point I may write a paranormal romance. Maybe. Fantasy romance is really popular now too. There is always this temptation with writing when you're I would almost argue in any business is like, you know, when something is really hot, you're tempted to try your hand at it. But the stronger voice in me is the one that is like, no, I want to write this story right now, right? Yes, I could write a paranormal romance, but all that said, I may try my hand at it at some point. There are elements of it I like. But yeah, like a good example of like kind of that divide between what is paranormal fantasy or paranormal romance and what is urban fantasy is Ilona Andrews. I would say she does have. I would say that her Anita Blake, or not Anita Blake, her main series. Why can I not remember? Kate Daniels. I would say that Kate Daniels is definitely urban fantasy because the main point of the plot is not the romance. It's a secondary. It's a very satisfying secondary plot feature, but it's not a romance. And I think that kind of story is the story I prefer. Yeah. Agree. Yes, saddling someone else with the action item is always the best course. Yeah. I love the Kate books, but my favorite of all of her stuff, Caerindra, is actually the Hidden Legacy stuff, which is more superhero, sci-fi superhero almost, I guess. It's not sci-fi. It's almost superhero fantasy. I guess you'd call it superhero fantasy. You know, where there are some families who've gotten magical powers from a weird DNA mutation virus disease thing, yada yada. But I actually really love those characters, and I love those books. And then I love her Innkeeper series, which is probably, I think it's the one she's self-pubbing. Like, nobody, I don't think her main publisher was interested, but they are fools. I really enjoy it. And it's more like lightweight, like she's going lighter on the sex and violence aspects of it, although it does still have some violence, but it's cool. I like it. Oh no! The Quindy and Caerindra show. It's the K-Ladies. You're now the K-Ladies. Sorry. Not sorry. Alright. So we've gotten a good coat down here. And if we want to suggest that this drops off into space, we keep the black. Okay, we try not to put gray on our base. We keep the black here. And probably trim it up. Yeah, if you both have the same color, I'm like done. But yeah, East of the Sun and West of the Moon doesn't really have it. It has just a little tiny romance thread. But it's not, whereas some of the coming books will have much stronger ones. Isn't there a way you can change your name color? Like, I thought there was. Like, if you have a name color that's really annoying, like, or really pale and you can't read it, I thought there was a way to change it or reset it. Oh no, Pendrake. Yeah, it's in the settings. Okay. Well, there. Then we can always fix that. Okay, so yeah. So what this has told me is you can see how smooth this area is compared to all the crumblies. Although there are some smooth areas down here. So you could argue, because there are some smoother areas down here on this rock, that we could integrate it. We can make it work. But we have a bag full of like crumbly bits. Crumbly bits. And so finding a couple of crumbly bits would actually be a great boon. Would save us some time and make it all look very integrated. So crumbly bits. Okay. So I'm looking for some flatter bits that I can... Those little bits work really well. So here, let me get these guys. I keep a lot of ones where they're flat on one side and then crumbly on the other, because these can be great to add to places that are too flat. But if I need crumbly bits and I don't have enough, so I'm getting these guys, these little crumbly bits here. I can use my knife to crumble them up more. Oop. Oh. Oh, it's green to me, Caerindra. You look dark green to me. That's weird. That's weird that it, like, might be different for different people. But yeah, it's definitely dark green on my computer. Your name. You're not colorblind and didn't know it, are you? Oh, she's pale blue on mine. Oh, interesting. So everybody's colored different. Oh, weird. Weird. Well, that's interesting. I thought everybody would be like consistent, but apparently Twitch like assigns colors randomly based on where, I like separately. Weird. Okay, we've now learned something about the Twitch universe that just like kind of makes me go, oh. So I can just take my knife and a fingernail or whatever. If you've got a poker or pointer tool, that works great. And just kind of shred these little cork bits. And the finer you can get them for 28mm, the better. You really just want little bits like this. Almost like particles of sand, just a little bigger. Leave some of them bigger and some of them smaller. So you guys, I use a 100-day goal journal. It's the one you can order on Amazon. I really like it. It just keeps me on track every day. It makes you say a thing that you're grateful for, and I really actually like starting the day with gratitude. It's good. But then it also like makes you kind of lay out like 3 things you want to get done, and and then the evening you follow up and you kind of touch base with how did your day go and stuff like that. So I went back. I just finished. Today is day 100. And I went back to the beginning of my goal journal. Oh, and I would only do it on weekdays. It's a work thing, so I don't do it during the weekends. But I went back to the beginning, and then the beginning was the beginning of March. And I had not published East of the Sun yet, and I hadn't even started the rewrite on West of the Moon. So it was just really cool to go back. And this is why I like journals in general and goal journals. And so it just let me, I could see like how much in the course of just this one journal, how much happened, like how much progress I've made. It was really cool. Like, and now this new journal that I already have in hand, so I can start it tomorrow, it'll be like, I'm about to publish, I just started proof editing on West of the Moon, right? And who knows, 100 days after that, where I'll be. Will I have written North of the Wind? Will I be getting ready to publish it? Like, it's so exciting. It's just really cool. Click on the icon that it gives you to the left of your chat box. It should pull up your chat identity, and from there you can select your global name color. How did they take a picture of the aura? Yours was the greenest aura they'd ever seen. It was only green. Well, you are good with plants. Like, it just means you're a druid. Like, maybe they were scared you were gonna, like, hex them or something. Oh, that's witch. All right, so I've got some nice little crumbles here. Let's get this little one ripped up too. Oh, and I don't want to lose these guys. I want crumbles, as many crumbles as I could get, because I'm kind of going to use them as if they were flock. Crumblies, crumblies. Ah, the problem is there's some static load in these, so sometimes they jump halfway across the paper. Yeah, I just think Caerindra a secret druid. No human sacrifices, mind you. Not that kind of druid. There we are. Okay, so that's good. Click on the icon at the left of the chat window. I'm going to try this. Let's see here. Click on the icon. Nope, that's not the icon. I'm not finding the icon to the left of my... Oh, there it is, chat identity. Okay, so yeah. So the send a message, and then there's that icon, and you can hit it, and it's chat identity. Yeah, totally non-mean druid. Totally cozy druid. You're a cozy druid. Yay, okay, well, yeah, now we can all personalize our colors. Awesome, everybody runs off to do that. Anne's like, nobody's watching the stream anymore, that's fine. By the way, you could also glue this on with paint if you really wanted to. You could just put thick paint down and dab this stuff into it. You'd be good. I probably should do that. Actually, I can do that, can't I? Yeah, why not? Why don't I show you that? All right. Because glue and paint have a lot in common, guys. And when you're just trying to stick on some cork where it's going to absorb the fluid from the paint, you do want to use thicker paint. You want to puddle it on. And you can sprinkle your stuff onto it, just like glue. We can add just some little features here. Then we can grab a bunch more paint. Now this paint is slightly thinned. You don't want to put on a super thick layer of unthinned paint, because some companies that will crack. Because you'll have such a thin coat that essentially what happens there is that you have such a thick coat that the top part of the paint will dry, and then the underside is still wet of the layer if it's really thick. And then when that underside, because that underside has not dried and the top has dried, it will essentially stretch and crack the top as the underside shifts. So, yeah. So we'll get these little crumblies figured out here. And the nice thing about doing it with the paint is that sometimes they'll kind of settle on a weird side. Like you kind of want them to, if they have a flat side, you want them to sit on that flat side. And sometimes you want to shift those little crumblies around a little bit to get them there. So the paint is going to glue them down pretty well with cork. I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, you can do this with sand too, right? It's texture paint. It's making your own texture paint. But here I'm being just a little bit more selective about it. You can put these things on anywhere you want. Now do keep in mind that this is not going to glue it down as much as like an actual glue would. So they're going to be a little more fragile. You're probably going to want to put another layer on at some point. But that has put like some crumblies at least on the really smooth areas. I can keep adding some crumblies here and there. Stick them on. Cozy is underrated. That's why I want to write a cozy fantasy. I like cozy. I love cozy mystery, so. I'm going to just put a few of these little bits down also. On anywhere else that I see that I might have too much, too uniform of a surface. Anywhere I can put some grit. And that really fine stuff is easy to pick up. There you go. Quindy has set you up in the chat, Pendrake. So the really fine stuff is good for... What are you eating, Bubba? My puppa has something that she's chewing on. I need to check and make sure that it's actually an approved chew. 1 second, folks. What you got? Oh, good girl. Yeah, that's a no-hide. Oh, good girl. Get that no-hide. That's right. Chomp that up. Good girl. I shouldn't really doubt her. She's such a good pup about just chewing on her stuff. Like, we did a good job on that as far as human dog developers. So I don't know why I doubt, but there's just something in me that's just like, I'm going to make sure. So adding in these little bits of rock here just helps to make everything a little bit spiky and weird. Much less regular. I'm going to put a little bit over here too. I'm going to glob that paint on. Glob that paint on and get that texture in there. I know, Polly. That's why I never trust. Yes, I see you as a medium blue. Medium blue, Pendrake. Quindy, you look teal. Grayed out teal. Just trying to put another little bit of stuff here. And this is just like nitpicky, right? Like I didn't need to do this, but it does make all of my stonework look, you know, the same, more or less, right? Put these crumblies in here. And I know I'm going to be putting more paint over the top of this, so this is a good time to do this. Because I am going to be putting shading and highlighting, and so I know that I'm going to be adding more stuff. So now I've really added a lot more up here. Hey, Keekers. What's up? Yeah, it's almost time. It's almost alpaca time, Papa. It's almost alpaca time. Yeah, so a little bit of fine grit up there, and now we've got that. Yes, you're always pink, Zachariah. All right. Yeah, nice and rocky up there now. Excellent. I'm going to try to put some down here on these smooth stones too. Yes, alpaca doom. Yeah, if you don't have it set, then your name color will change, Twisted Oma. If you do have it set, you should be good. But if you've never set it, then it'll be whatever it feels like being on that particular day. Which, you know, there's something to be said for that. So adding some little bits of rock here. Hey, Valender. Luca's just looking for, like, I'm sure he's lurking and he's just looking for an opportunity to say something absolutely inappropriate in response to something. So it's a good thing we talked about romance preferences earlier. He obviously wasn't lurking then. He missed such a grand opportunity. Yeah, there's no reason to set it. I mean, the only reason to set it is if your name pops up in like a color that's hard to read or something. In that case, I'll usually tell you if it's hard to read. Although there is something to be said for personalization. So if you wish, feel free. Yep, exactly. So he must be eating or something. He must be distracted. There we go. Now I feel like we don't have any like super rounded stuff. Except maybe a little bit back here, so I'll pop some in there in this little part here. It's a big chunk. I like that, so we'll take it. We'll use it. Hey, Keeks, it's almost time. Yeah, we have to have the Master Alpaca before we can go. Yeah, he has to make his appearance. There he is. Wow, Luca, you just missed out on so many opportunities this stream. It's a shame. It's a shame. I'm sure you'll make up for it on your stream. Quindy's probably thankful you weren't here. All right, folks, we've grittied up our base. We are now ready to do finishing work and highlight shading, flocking. What the flock? There's that beautiful man who's going to behave himself today. Oh yeah, look out! Caerindra has the mod bat now. Luca. Aww. No! Luca must not behave. Kiki, get up here. Kiki says it is not a day to behave, Luca. It's not a day to behave. Look at this hound. She says, no, I've not been behaving all day. And you must not behave either. That's what Kiki says. Kiki's motto is never behave. Never behave. Right, never behave, pretty girl. You never behave. Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, she's trying to eat my hand. Or my Fitbit. You dweeb. No nomin on me. No nomin. Okay, you beast. Get down. Frizzy beast. Nope. Kiki's big. So Kiki says, embrace your inner dingo. Embrace your inner dingo, Luca. Get naughty. Oh man, like Quindy is just like going no, but be this, channel this, off. Now, nope. Yes, thank you. Kiki. Yes, channel your inner dingo. Big hearts for the Luca. Hearts, Luca. I have a lot of fun when Luca is naughty. Like, I'm sitting here face palming, like, all stream, even if I'm doing it mentally, but at the same time, don't feel like you have to. Don't feel like you have to, Luca. But we love you. I hope you know. We love you. And I do think that Kiki is your spirit animal in many ways. Talk about a dingo. Oh, Lordy. Yeah, we do love him. Even when he's, maybe especially when he's, but don't tell him. Oh, you brought me a toy, huh? Did you bring Luca a toy? Say, you just need a tug toy. You just need a puppy, Luca. Puppy to play tug with. Oh, you dingo. Look at that dingo. So a dingo right now. Oof, you got it. You got it. Good job. That's all right. Luca will come up with something else. Luca understands how to iterate. But yes, we do love you, Luca. Absolutely. And I will turn the stream over as soon as this dog is like trying to pull me off my chair. Yes. She's playing tug right now. She's got her toy. Oh, you see her toy in her mouth. Come on, show people your toy. Show people your toy. Can you lift it up? Oh, God. Ugh, you're heavy, dog. Yes, exactly. All right. Oh, yeah, we're talking about how to change colors. So at Miniatures Den is purple. And that's an appropriate color for Luca, I think. Luca, what's your favorite color? Do you have a favorite color? My favorite color is yellow, followed by purple. But I don't ever put my name in yellow. Purple? Okay, good. Yay! Team Purple! With blue in it. So, yeah, you like more of an indigo? Yeah. Cool. Cool, Papa. Or a blue shade purple. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to blurple. Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to take this dingo-y puppy for her walk because obviously she needs it. Oh, and it's the first day of school today here. So the kids will be back after summer break. They'll probably be out playing in the field. Yeah, and we have to take our longer route because we're not permitted to walk through the school grounds when school is on. Yes, so we'll get more steps. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow is... Tomorrow is Anne dropping all the cards. All the cards. All of them. Tomorrow is Angry Link. Yeah, Kiki, Angry Link. We were putting purple shadows in the greens last time. It was fun. We gotta do something with the shield though. Now we're getting to the point where it's like the only unpainted things are. But yeah, so we'll work on this guy tomorrow. We'll work on whatever I feel like working on. Yeah, we'll rock that. Oh, thank you all. Enjoy your Luca stream. I am going to go take the Angry Dingo for a walk, and then we'll work on my novel. Yes. Oh, wait. I didn't show Luca. Show Luca. Real quick before I leave. I got the print proof of my second book, Luca. Book number 2. I get to edit today. So that's exciting. Yes, take care, too. I hope you have a great stream. I'm sure this crowd... Oh, thank you. I'm sure this crowd will enable you to have a great stream. All right? Have a good one, everybody. Be good to Luca and cheer him up, all right? I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.